With the new year comes a lot of people attempting to reinvent themselves and trying new things. Personally, I've set many goals to accomplish this year, both with my channel, my skateboarding, and just personal projects in general. I've long since wanted to improve and progress my skateboarding to the highest abilities that it can be. And perhaps it's silly, but with the sense of a new year and a fresh start, I'm very eager to get going on these things. I've recently come up with what I think is a fairly exhaustive list of new tricks to learn, things I want to be able to do on the skateboard in 2021. Not only do I want to increase the number of tricks under my belt, but I also want to get out of my comfort zone by skating in new places and in different ways. However, those who follow me on my social media, links in the description if you know what's good for you, happen to know that I was out of town for the New Year's weekend, and I haven't skated in about a week. So I think a warm-up session just to get back to where I was is in order. Hello, good morning, greetings, and welcome to Candyland Skate Park in Longwood, Florida on what is somewhat of a cold morning for Floridians here. And today we're going to be talking about the top things you can do to improve your skateboarding in 2021. I'm your host, Spootyskater, and welcome to the channel. If it's your first time here, you know what to do. I always love coming to this skate park after a few days or a week or so without having been here because the locals tend to like to rearrange their furniture, so to speak, and we're always left with some really unique obstacle combinations. Like, check out this picnic table to mani pad contraption. Curious to see if there's anything I can do with this one. And so that's about all for today's session. I know it was a pretty short session indeed, but it is a work day for me, and so I can't dilly-dally too long at the skate park as much as I'd like to. But that brings me nice and neatly to my first point of this video, the first tip on how to get better at skateboarding in 2021, and that is consistency. There's an old adage I remember hearing as a kid. Let me know if you've heard this one as well, but it goes something like this: practice makes perfect. And I think that applies tremendously to skateboarding, because nothing makes you better at skateboarding than continuing to skateboard regularly. It's quite difficult to continue to do something over and over again and get worse at it, although some days do feel like that when it comes to skateboarding. But in the long run, if you look at it in terms of months and years rather than days of the week, you're going to continue to get better at skateboarding the more that you do it. It's just simple math, guys. Welcome to the course. I know that not everyone's schedules are wide open, and this is something that I have to deal with myself, but finding the time to skateboard is something that's going to be vital in being better at skateboarding. You're going to have to carve out something in your schedule in order to dedicate at least an hour or an hour and a half. And that's my philosophy with the early morning skate sessions, even though they're only about an hour at most, and it takes me probably 40% of that just to get warmed up to my usual keen self. I like to think that they're helping me with developing a good sense of board feel and just getting over that hurdle of getting some control, and the consistency is gonna be righteous, dude. It's the next day, and we're back out here at Candyland Park pretty early in the morning once again. As is pretty typical, the skate park is very wet and nearly unskateable, so I guess we're gonna have to be content with a little bit of flat ground this morning. second tip to improve your skateboarding is something I alluded to earlier, and it has to do with setting goals. It's one thing to say that you want to get better at skateboarding, and another thing entirely to put a plan into action. Without coming up with a specific plan of how to get better at skateboarding, the simple goal of just get better at skateboarding is far too broad, intangible, and therefore unattainable. It's much easier to achieve a large goal such as get better at skateboarding if you break it up into bite-sized chunks, such as learn one new trick every single week. And so once a week I'm gonna pick a trick from my list and dedicate myself to learning that trick. I've never been very good or even enjoyed doing heel flips, but it's hard to ignore that there's a certain allure to the trick, especially the nollie and switch variations. And it seems to be a trick that's fairly synonymous with skateboarders that are quite good. And so that's what I'm gonna work on today. I'm gonna see if we can get some nollie, switch, fakie, regular heel flips looking nice and crispy. Not gonna lie, this is the part of skateboarding that can be extremely grueling and tedious and frustrating. I think this is what turns a lot of people off, is the frustration factor. Having to throw yourself at something without any prior knowledge of how to achieve the goal that you want to achieve. Trial and error, basically. It's not necessarily fun, at least in the process of it. But once you figure it out, that's the ticket, that's the key. That's what keeps people coming back. And I think I'm gonna come back to heel flips because I'm figuring them out. I'm figuring them out. They're gonna be my friend. But it's not enough to have landed a new trick just once. There's quite a few tricks that I learned last year that almost felt one and done. I did them a handful of times, but they never really made it into my routine bag of tricks. Which brings me to our third and final point. In order to adequately improve, one must continue to perform new tricks regularly. Once you've dedicated the time and effort to figuring out what it is that makes these tricks work, add them to your warm-up routine, and then you can ensure that your bag of tricks is continuing to expand. If you don't already have a warm-up routine, then you really should. Structuring your regular skate sessions is a great way to enhance your ability and maximize your effectiveness with skateboarding. Check out my skate session strategy for success for more information about how I personally structure my warm-up routines and skate sessions in general. But that's not to say that every skate session has to be a regimented training routine. There will be some days in which you just want to head to the skate park without any commitments and just have fun. And the entire process I've just outlined may seem a bit too mathematical. Incorporating these tips into your skateboarding sounds like a lot of work and potentially fun killing. But if getting better at skateboarding is something you're very serious about, then it will require a good bit of work to achieve. Whilst it's certainly possible to get better at skateboarding by continuing to skate how you ordinarily would, employing the strategies above will help to expedite the process. So to recap, this year we're going to get better at skateboarding by learning one new trick a week from our prescribed list of tricks to learn. We're going to add that trick to our routine warm-up sessions and stay consistent by regularly skating and practicing good discipline. There are, of course, many more ways to go about improving your skateboarding, and I could go on with a number of additional tips, but if I did, this video would turn out to be very, very long. Perhaps in the future I'll make a part 2 to this video and further elaborate on this topic, but in the meantime, go ahead and check out last year's video guide for more tips and tricks about how to improve your skateboarding. So, where are you from? and let me know what you're doing to get better at skateboarding in 2021. But as always, thanks so much for watching this video with me today, and until I see you in the next one, keep on spootin'. Once you've dedicated the time and effort to figuring out what it is that makes these tricks work, add them to your warm-up routine to ensure that your bag of tricks is continually expanding. Man, I really sound like an instructional video right now. Strategically positioned as to strike the most amount of fear into the hearts of my enemies.